Hello and welcome to Bike Wale. My name is Suvil and today I have got two motorcycles for you. Two motorcycles that you were probably awaiting a lot if you were looking for a premium brand or a premium motorcycle in the sub 500cc segment of the Indian market. I am talking about none other than the Bajaj Triumph developed 400cc motorcycles, and yes, now we have the name for both of them. The street biased version is called the Speed 400, while the off-road focused motorcycle will be called the Scrambler 400X. But before we go any further, make sure that you have subscribed to our channel, clicked on the bell icon so you are notified every time we upload a new video. Let's start with the most obvious thing, and it is the design, and that is the first thing that you would always consider before buying a motorcycle. Now in terms of styling, these two motorcycles clearly draw an inspiration from the higher displacement Triumph motorcycles such as the Street Twin or the Speed Twin or the Scrambler range that is already available in the Indian market. So the styling is very neo-retro. You've got a round shape headlight at the front. The fuel tank has got a curved shape but with recesses towards the knees, which will enable you to lock in your legs onto the motorcycle when you are riding it aggressively. Then there's the asymmetrically mounted fuel filler cap with a chrome finish that gives it a very nice and a retro look, a very likable look. Then there's the flat seat, you've got a single-sided exhaust, and the overall styling is very likable. The paint options for both motorcycles include 3 colors each, and those were the similar bits. Obviously the color palette is different, but those were the similarities between these two motorcycles. But there are several differences, and these are what they are. Now that we have got the similarities out of the way, let's talk about the differences between both of these motorcycles, and there are quite a few, even though if they are not visible right away off the bat. So let's talk about the differences, and the biggest difference between the Speed 400 and the Scrambler 400X are the wheel sizes. The Scrambler, which is more of a off-road biased motorcycle, well, not really hardcore off-road but a little bit off-road biased motorcycle, gets a 19-inch front wheel and a 17-inch rear wheel. In comparison, the Speed 400 comes with 17-inch units on both the ends, and this motorcycle is more street biased, which is why it gets 17-inch wheels. The tires too are different, although both of them are sourced from Metzeler. So the Speed 400 comes with Metzeler RR tires, while the Scrambler gets a little bit more off-road focused Metzeler Karus. Then the suspension travel on both these motorcycles, that's also quite different, and the Scrambler, since it needs a little bit of more suspension travel to tackle all those off-roading difficulties, has a longer travel rating, although the hardware on both the motorcycles include upside down front forks which are 43 mm in dimension, and preload adjustable rear monoshocks. Now this added suspension travel and the bigger wheel, it does make a difference to the seat height, and the Speed 400 has a relatively lower seat than the Scrambler 400. The Scrambler 400 in general is a slightly bigger motorcycle, so it has a slightly longer length, a slightly taller height, and it will stand out as a slightly bigger motorcycle between the two. Apart from these hardware differences, there are some styling cues that are different as well. So the Scrambler comes standard with a lot of styling elements, such as you get a headlight grille for a off-road focused look, you've got taller handlebars with a steering damper at the center and knuckle guards, and all of these things would come standard. The Speed 400 on the other hand would not get knuckle guards or the grille because it is not an off-road biased motorcycle, but instead it will come with a sportier rear view mirror setup, which includes bar and mounted mirrors, unlike the conventional mounts for the Scrambler 400. Now apart from these, even the seats are slightly different on both these motorcycles, and the Speed 400, now it comes with a single piece seat, while the Scrambler 400X, it gets a split style setup. I personally prefer the split style seats because they make it easy to access the under seat storage area, to access the tools or maybe the paperwork if you would have kept it under the saddle. A split style seat is easier to take out and access the under seat area. The full single piece seat, you have to take out the entire thing and then take out whatever contents you might need. It can be a toolkit, it can be a quick medical kit that you may have stored underneath the seat. Now, although the design is different, Triumph Motorcycles has ensured that the seat is narrow towards the front, which should make it easy for even shorter riders, maybe someone who's 5'6", 5'7", to reach the ground easily. We'll comment more on it when we see the motorcycles in person, and that is going to happen very soon. Stick around to know when will that happen. And now that we have got the design out of the way, let's talk about the engine, and there is a lot to talk about. Let's speak about the specifications first. Both these motorcycles would use a newly developed 398.15cc single cylinder liquid cooled engine with a dual overhead camshaft and a 4-valve setup. The maximum power output is rated at 39.5 bhp at 8000 rpm, while the peak torque is rated at 37.5 Nm at 6500 rpm. Now, if I speak about the engine character, traditionally shorter stroke engines are known for their rev-friendly nature, and a 4-valve setup aids the cause further. So, traditionally this engine, this sort of a layout should favor a good mid and high rev performance. But the neo retro category of motorcycles, now these are supposed to be laid back, so traditionally a neo retro motorcycle would deliver a good low and a mid-range performance. We expect this to be the former bit, and these two motorcycles should deliver a good amount of mid and high-end performance, although Triumph motorcycles should tune these for a more linear power delivery, a linear torque delivery, and these motorcycles should pack a good amount of punch, say from somewhere around 3,500 rpm till 8,000, 8,500 rpm. Of course, we can only tell you in detail when we ride these motorcycles, and that is scheduled to happen very, very soon. The engine characteristic would be complemented by the hardware, and this is what this motorcycle, both these motorcycles pack in terms of hardware. Now, this engine sits in a brand new chassis which uses a bolted subframe and a cast aluminium swing arm. Now, this chassis we still haven't ridden the motorcycle yet, but we expect it to pack a little bit of sportiness, more so on the Speed 400 than the Scrambler 400. I'll get to that why I say that, but the overall chassis geometry, it will be slightly on the sporty side without being too extreme if you compare it to something like the KTM 390 Adventure. Now, in terms of handling, the Speed 400 will be a little bit more sportier package as compared to the Scrambler. Although the differences would not be drastic, there will be some changes, and that is primarily because of the wheel size that the Scrambler uses. The Scrambler, because of its off-road biased nature, off-road design, has a 19-inch front wheel, which is aimed to improve its off-roading capabilities, and that is where this motorcycle is going to compromise a little bit on the street handling. The Speed 400, on the other hand, with its 17-inch wheels on both the ends, is going to feel light on its feet when it comes to changing directions or going fast around corners. This is what we expect right now. Of course, we'll be able to make concrete comments once we ride these motorcycles, which is likely to happen in the coming weeks. Apart from the handling, the suspension setup, it will be tuned for sporty riding, but it won't be too extreme. So you can expect a comfortable ride quality without being too soft. The suspension travel on the Scrambler is slightly more than the Speed 400, and that is primarily again to improve its off-roading capabilities. Then there's the braking setup. Both of these motorcycles have a disc brake on both the wheels, and they use Bibre sourced calipers. Bibre, as you know, is the Indian subsidy of Brembo, and we have seen these units on the likes of KTM 390 Duke, and we expect to see or feel a similar feedback from these units as well. There's also a difference in the weight, and the Speed 400 is about 9 kilograms lighter than the Scrambler. The Speed 400 is 170 kilos, while the Scrambler is 179 kilos. So the Speed again is going to feel lighter when it comes to handling. The difference of course will not be drastic because it's just 9 kilos, but still the Speed is going to feel as a more sportier motorcycle among the two. Let's talk about the features, and although the list may not be as comprehensive as something like the 390 Duke, there are quite a few features on the Speed 400 and the Scrambler 400X. The lighting, for example, is full LED, so you get LED headlight, LED turn indicators and an LED tail light at the back. You also get a analog instrument cluster with an LCD screen instead of a digital display, and do note that it does not have Bluetooth, but what it does have is a ride-by-wire throttle, a traction control system and a dual channel ABS. The traction control system is switchable on both the variants, while the ABS is only switchable on the Scrambler version, so you cannot disengage the safety net of ABS on the Speed 400, but you can do that on the Scrambler 400, and that is primarily to make it more off-road friendly, so you can lock the rear wheel and slide it out when you take it on a gravelly road. You cannot do that on the Speed 400. So that's how the feature list looks like. Triumph Motorcycles will also offer a bunch of accessories, and right now they have announced 25 of them, but these are for the European market. We have to see which one of these accessories would come to India, but the list for the international markets, they comprise options to improve the aesthetics, the visuals of the motorcycle, the comfort levels, the security. So you get crash guard, you get optional luggage options for these motorcycles, you get a fly screen that can be added. So a bunch of things that you can use to customize these motorcycles, but again these are confirmed for the European market for now, and the list may vary for the Indian market. And now to the bit that you were probably awaiting the most, and that is the launch date and the pricing for both these motorcycles. As confirmed by Bajaj Auto and Triumph Motorcycles, both of these products would be launched in India on 5th of July 2023, and we expect them to be priced aggressively, but don't expect a very low price tag, since Triumph is a very premium motorcycle brand, and it's always has we have seen premium pricing for its existing motorcycles in India. So we expect the Speed 400 to arrive somewhere in the 2.60 lakh to 2.80 lakh rupee ex-showroom price bracket, while the Scrambler 400X with its slightly different hardware might carry a premium of say around 15 to 20,000 over the Speed 400. So you can expect that one to arrive in 2.8 lakh rupees to 3 lakh rupees ex-showroom. Now, in terms of competition, there is no direct threat as such to both these motorcycles, but if we had to stick our head out and name a few, we would say that the Scrambler 400X, for example, it will face some competition from the likes of KTM 390 Adventure and the BMW G310 GS. There's also the Yazdi Scrambler on the lower end of the spectrum, but that is way low in terms of pricing. So it's not really a threat for Triumph Motorcycle and its premium positioning, but the KTM 390 and the GS, those would be a threat to the Scrambler 400X. The Street 400, it will have some competition from the likes of the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, which retails in a similar price bracket, slightly above the expected pricing that we have mentioned over here. Now do note that these pricing might change. These are expected prices, what we think, but these can be different at the launch, and you would know that very soon. So that's everything about the Speed 400 and the Scrambler 400X that we can tell you right now. We have told you the features, the specifications, the cycle parts, everything is out there. The only thing that's remaining is the pricing that will be out on 5th of July, and how this motorcycle feels to ride. Now we expect to ride these motorcycles very soon after the launch, although there is no launch a ride invite available yet, but we expect to ride this motorcycle sometime in the next month. We'll also be riding the Harley Davidson X440, which is scheduled to happen in the first week of July, and we'll be really interested in knowing how both of these motorcycles fare against each other, because both of these are premium brands and they are coming into the sub 500cc segment for the first time in the Indian market. So it will be really interesting to see how both these motorcycles compare against each other. Now, if you are interested in knowing more about these, you can drop in your questions in the comment section, and we'll try and answer them as soon as we ride both of these motorcycles. Till next time, this is Subil signing off.